Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In the latest Hearthstone patch, we also got a new feature on the auto-completion, on the complete my deck feature. So now when you're making a new deck and if you choose to complete that deck, the new deck builder function is tapping into Blizzard internal data and giving you established good decks based on the cards that you have available. So, if we just click on a class and let it auto-complete the deck from nothing, does that mean that it's going to build the best possible deck for that class? Perhaps in theory, in practice, no, it's not going to do that. There is still room for deck building. I have explored that subject more in my article about this on Hearthstone Top Decks. You can find link below in the description. But in this video, I want to just focus on the best deck for each class according to the complete my deck function. First, let's take a look at how the feature works. So you can just select a new deck, you can click on the class, choose the class, build a custom deck. You could fill in some of the cards in advance and then you should be able to fill out the rest. But there are some caveats about that, more about that in the article. But here, let's just allow it to fill a mage deck for me. So here we go, let's see what kind of deck we're getting this time. So let's go take a look at what kind of decks the autocomplete feature is recommending right now. So for mage, this is what I've got. Actually, when I rolled through this multiple times, it sometimes gives a little bit different cards. Because this is an odd control mage with Leroy Jenkins in it, and sometimes this Leroy Jenkins has actually been a Baron Geddon. And I've also had a role where this Leroy Jenkins and this Faceless Manipulator were 2 copies of Blazecaller. But this is the version that I have got the most. So, according to the autocomplete, this odd control mage would be the best mage deck at the moment. It's a little bit curious build in a way, because it runs double Fireflies, but then it runs Leroy, so no Blazecallers. So why does it have Fireflies when it's not being an aggressive deck, and it doesn't use elemental synergies for anything? It also does not have a lot of healing. There's Ziliax and there's Frostlich Jaina. There's no Arcane Artificers, for example, so the ability to heal with this deck is fairly limited. Overall, however, it does look like an odd control mage archetype. I mean, there's 5 big spells, 2 Flame Strikes, 2 Dragon's Furies, 1 Blast Wave. That's perfectly normal, rational amount of spells to use in order to make use of Dragon's Fury. It has Frostlich Jaina, it has stuff like Jan'alai and Zola, makes use of Voodoo Dolls, makes use of Pyromaniac, it has some weapon removal in it. Overall, it looks like a fairly reasonable deck. Although there are a couple of quirks in it, I think, with this Leroy Faceless Fireflies not synergizing together perfectly. As for the Hunter deck, this is what I keep getting. It's a mid-range Hunter build with Master's Call. Perfectly valid Master's Call deck. The only minions are beasts, there are no non-beast minions in this one. Runs Thunder Rhino, some Savannah High mains, curved up south at Savannah High main, just like you would expect from mid-range Hunter. Uses Deathstalker Rexa. Perhaps the most surprising aspect about this deck is that it uses Revenge of the Wild, which is not the most common choice. Also, this does not give you a definitive answer into which weapon is better, because this one runs 1 copy of Headhunter's Hatchet and 1 copy of Candleshot. But overall, a fairly high-performance deck. This particular list can also be found from Mage's Replay. The Mage deck, for example, cannot, and it seems like a valid deck to me. For Warrior, the autocomplete feature gives me an Odd Warrior. That probably surprises no one. But what's a little bit surprising is that there are no Dragon synergies in this Odd Warrior. This is a cube build. Double cube, double faceless, hatchlings, even Elise. So this one goes full in on that fatigue and copy plan. And it even includes Thinkmaster Overspark as a tech card. That's pretty hilarious. I mean, I like Thinkmaster Overspark as a tech card, but it's not that common of an inclusion. The most surprising part about this is that both the statistics sites like Aegis Replay and the analysis sites like Vicious Syndicate, both of them have been showing and talking about how good the Dragon synergies are. On Aegis Replay, the Dragon synergy decks are constantly outperforming the cube variants. On Vicious Syndicate they always talk about how Dragon synergy builds are better than the Cube synergy builds, and yet the recommendation here comes out in Cube form. So does that mean that Blizzard knows something that the others do not, or does that mean that this is not actually building you the best possible deck? Given the various lacks in synergies in specific decks that are being built by this autocomplete feature, I would say that the more likely explanation is that this is not actually building you the best possible deck. But still, this is a far cry from what it used to be, because now when you click the button, you actually do get a playable deck right here. As for the Shaman build, okay, we get an Elemental Shaman. It's a Hagatha, Shadowbox type of Elemental Shaman. Yeah, this slow value grinding stuff. There's Kalimos, there's Grumble. There are some interesting things about this deck. There's only one copy of Blazecaller. There's one copy of Bloodlust. And there is an Electro Storm Surge in this deck. It of course can also be used with the random spells you get from Hagatha. But when all your spells natively in the deck are just Bloodlust, Hex and Earthen Might, then yeah, that doesn't look like a deck where you usually would use Electra. So there are also these small things about these decks where the synergies don't seem to work completely perfectly. Or are they just next level Hearthstone deck building? I don't think they are. Building a rogue deck with the autocomplete feature gives an Odd Rogue. Woohoo! Odd Rogue. Well, Odd Rogue is good, what can I say? And it's pretty on point here. Even the deck card game is quite on point. There's one copy of Ironbeak Owl, there's one copy of Void Ripper. Okay, I can see that happening. But then there are some interesting one-offs here. Like there's one copy of Blinkfox in the deck, and there's one copy of Stonehill Defender. And that seems really random for an Odd Rogue. There is kind of a rational explanation. If you need a third taunt for the 3-drop slot, you already have 2 Dark Reapers. And if you need a third one, then you put in that one Stonehill Defender. But still, there are some interesting things going on with this one. The autocomplete Paladin comes out as an even Paladin. Again, it looks like a fine deck, and it is a fine deck. Caps out at Tyrion, Lich King, yeah, that's what most even Paladins do right now. There's Windfury Harpy, there's Valanir, Tarim Steed, Mojo Mastery. Yeah, Mojo Mastery sees a bunch of play. Glass Knight is being used, Spellbreakers, Corpse Taker, full Corpse Taker package with proper support. What's there not to like? Although once you look into the details a little bit more, there's like this one copy of Wild Pyromancer, but there is no equality. And that's a very rare combination. Usually if you use the Pyromancer you also use equality, although not always. Especially if you are in positions where you really need to deal 3 damage, and then you can do stuff like Pyromancer Consecration. But the current meta is not like that. Then there's double weapon removal, only one Amani Berserker. So there are some interesting choices in this deck as well. Although yeah, it does build a deck with a decent mana curve, decent card choices, completely playable deck. The autocomplete druid for me is a Hakar druid. Hakar, King Togwaggle, yeah, pretty usual stuff, Catches an Auctioneer's Pyromancer, Spark Skins, this is this Miracle variant. So yeah, playable deck. When I rolled the dice with the Warlock, it actually came up with a Mechatoon Warlock. And yeah, this is pretty regular Mechatoon Warlock build. There's the combo, there's the Mechatoon, there's the one copy of Bloodbloom, there's the one copy of Cataclysm. It has all the card draw pieces, it has all the removal pieces, it runs the Corpse Taker package, it runs Solarium for some additional card draw. Seems like a perfectly fine build to me. The Priest deck the autocomplete feature comes up with an interesting one. It's a Clone Priest, but it's not exactly any known variant of Clone Priest, because this is a 5-minion variant. So there's Malygos, there's Velen, there's Ziliax, there's Radiant Elemental, and there's one copy of Gilded Gargoyle. So usually you don't have this Gilded Gargoyle here, and then you have just those 4 minions, which means that when your Spellstone is fully buffed, you're guaranteed to resurrect both Velen and Malygos. But now when you have 5 different minions here, thanks to Gilded Gargoyle, your Spellstones are not guaranteed to resurrect those damaged minions. On the other hand, that Gilded Gargoyle can give you some advantages by giving you an additional coin, and then you might be able to do coin cloning gallery and just kill everyone a lot faster. This particular build also cannot be found from HS Replay. I tracked all of these decks from HS Replay. A couple of those decks are available there, most of them are not. They are unique builds, and the ones that are available in that specific form, they are nowhere near the most popular builds. They typically have a sample size of just a few hundred games, and they are also not the best performing builds either, typically. So yeah, the autocomplete feature has been improved. It actually gives you playable meta decks right now. But don't expect it to actually give you the best possible variant of those decks, because that it does not seem to do, even if you have a complete collection. But it can get you close enough. When you have a less than complete collection, things are going to get a little bit more tricky, and there are many deficiencies in the automatic completion. I have explored those in more detail in article format over at HS Top Decks. So if you really want to know more about how this feature works, then head out over there. But these were the 9 decks. The 9 autocomplete decks from Blanks, so they should be the best decks in the game. In reality though, they are not quite that. As you have seen, there are some strange choices and there are some lacks of synergies, but it can get you quite close anyway. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.